Welcome back, everybody. My name is Stu Ehrlich, and I am posting a story about my second life living with Alzheimer's. I have Alzheimer's. I've had it for 11 years, and I am now trying to talk to other people who have Alzheimer's and their loved ones and caregivers to give them some insight in what they can do to help themselves. And I hope whoever listened to my first post enjoyed it, and that's why you're back again for this one. Please pass the word around and subscribe if you want to hear more good stuff. But I have to tell you, as I've said, having Alzheimer's is not an easy illness to have. Being able to talk about it to others is going to help you. The more you do, the better it will feel. And another thing I mentioned to you last week is have a pen and pad handy to take notes. If you want, put me on pause now and go get yourself a pad and pen. I'll wait for you. One of these things I want to talk about today is what everybody is talking about. The coronavirus and how it's affecting me and you as well as our caregivers. Before I start, I want to tell you what's coming up in the next weeks to come. Next week, I'm going to talk about the symptoms just after I was diagnosed that I started realizing. And that's important because thinking before the things that are wrong with you not necessarily are your symptoms. Now I'm starting to realize my symptoms, and this is 11 years ago, and that's what I'm going to talk about. I'll ask you if they sound familiar, and if they do, great. If you have other symptoms that you see happening to you, I'd like to hear about them. So please send me your comments, and I would love to hear about them and share them with others and see if others are having the same issues you are. And then the following week, I want to talk about how we found a financial manager and an elder care attorney. Very important for us to do, if you haven't already. Remember, when others share their symptoms with you, you'll see you may have many of them. You are no different than most of us. That's why it's so important to talk. And I'm sorry if I keep repeating myself, but I've got to get this instilled in you so you understand. Don't hold things in. You'll get sicker. We all share so many similar symptoms. It's okay. When the virus started, most people, like me, thought it was just another virus. But that didn't last long. When we heard about China and then Europe, reality started setting in. I said to myself, the U.S. is next. And it is. As reports of cases and deaths started coming in, my mind started racing. At 75, having Alzheimer's for 11 years and having other medical issues, I was realizing I was at risk. And by the way, let me just jump back for a second. I was born and raised in New Jersey, northern New Jersey. So the heart of my family, friends, are all in New Jersey and in New York, the worst possible place to be now. Sorry about that. We started going out less and less. Stores started closing. Masks, gloves, all the non-essential stores started closing. My family told me they didn't want me going out again and leaving the house. And the problem is because I was compromised. I was feeling trapped. The thought was very upsetting. My frustration level was rising. I wasn't sure how I was going to handle it. And once the restrictions actually came, I found myself getting overwhelmed and irritable, even worse. One of the symptoms of my Alzheimer's is finding myself unable to think clearly. and going over and over the same thing out loud. As it is, I very often talk to myself out loud, and my wife never knows if I'm talking to myself or to her. And it's far from easy for her to listen to it. I actually got to the point where my wife had to help me by grounding and calming me down. Together we came up with a plan to structure my time so I can get through the day in a calm way. Managing to get some things done rather than getting crazy, trying to do a bunch of things. Without that guidance, I would be a mess. The past couple of years, I have forgotten to do the very simple things that I have done daily. Starting with the bathroom, waking up. No, I didn't forget to go to the bathroom. I did, but when I got done, I washed my hands, but forgot to use the soap. Things like my toothbrush, my soap, my brush, my water pick, were all there, but I didn't see them. I just walked out. So, the reason I'm saying this is because it's so important now to wash your hands daily with soap and water, okay? This is something your caregiver can remind you to do. Just like Harriet, how to wash your hands the right way. And you might not think it's necessary, and now I'm speaking to both caregivers and people with Alzheimer's. It is important. So just trust me. Even though you think you know what you're doing, let your caregiver help you. You might be surprised. I told you everybody is diagnosed with some form of dementia, shows it differently. No two people are alike. We all have similar symptoms, and we all are still different. Now I just told you some scary things about me. What you need to know is, I say it like it is, the truth. Why? Because if I can tell you the things that I have problems with, you might also have them and can relate. And now you can really relate to someone who has Alzheimer's. So now it's time for you to think about what I've said, and after we're done, write it down. What you're struggling with during the coronavirus and how it's affecting your Alzheimer's. Work with your caregiver when you do this. Don't try to do it alone. Take their word. What's going on? They might surprise you with things that you're struggling with that you realize but don't want to admit. It happens. So now I talked about my concerns. Let me tell you what I did with the help of my wife and caregiver, Harriet. Stress, anxiety, frustration got worse as the days passed. Harriet and I were able to talk about my concerns and what I was going to do with my time. I have a therapist, didn't use her frequently, but now we decided I was going to make regular virtual phone calls, and I started doing it. And it works. I write down everything I want to talk to her about on a pad. So when I have my 45 minutes, I am able to look at my pad and go down the list and discuss the issues that I have, whatever they may be. If you want your caregiver at that meeting, please have your caregiver there to interject or have concerns. Harry and I alternate our meetings with our caregivers. With our therapist. There is one thing I need to tell you. I'm a multitasker. I've been that way all my life, even through work years as a purchasing director. So now the combination of having so many things I want to do and I'm not out and about like I would normally be, my anxiety and frustration are heightened by my Alzheimer's, causing me the problem of not being able to function the way I like to. I need my wife to calm me down. Now, do I look like the kind of guy that needs calming down and being grounded? Yes, I do. I am. I'm it, just like everybody else. She has to focus on me, one task at a time. We came up with a list of 5 things to do every night for the next day. But I have to choose one of them at a time and hope that I can get one done. And it's lucky I have tons of things to do. And what I want to say to all of you caregivers out there for a minute, if you've been going to caregivers meetings, find out if they do it virtually so you can continue your meetings, or find out from some kind of a connection, and maybe we can get it for you from the Alzheimer's Association, what we can do to get you a caregivers group that's virtual. If you're new, find yourself a caregiver group meeting. The alz.org website, Alzheimer's website, has all kinds of great information. If you need me, you can contact me at my email, which is Stuart, Stuart, 041945 @gmail.com. You can ask me anything you want. You can suggest things. Talk to me. And I'll try to help you or connect you with someone that can. You can also call the Alzheimer's hotline. The Alzheimer's hotline is open 24/7. And that number is 800-272-3900. They'll help you with what you need, and they'll find you the right person to talk to. And by the way, the ALZ website and 800 number, as well as my email address, is for everybody. Friends, relatives, acquaintances, whatever. And the Alzheimer's hotline, as I think I said, is open 24/7, all day, all night, with trained people. The last thing I want to talk about is there will be, is for both the person with Alzheimer's and their caregiver. Okay, guys, this is something that's most important to everybody, but more important to us, people with Alzheimer's. What to do to protect yourself during the pandemic. Okay, so some of these you've heard before, but I have to tell you all over again. Stay home, stay on your property, away from other people. In public, make sure you have a mask and gloves. And stay 6 feet away. That's the distance rule. Please follow it. Caregivers should go out shopping without the person with Alzheimer's if possible. Okay? Try. Practice safe hygiene. Keep hand sanitizers in the car. Find out if your doctor has telemedicine. I'm using it, and it's a great tool to have. Make sure your prescriptions are up to date. Now, many pharmacists are allowing up to 3 months medication, so you don't have to go out continuously. And some pharmacists are even shipping. And I'm not talking about mail order, I'm talking about regular pharmacists, like CVS. Before I end, which I'm going to do, I have to take a minute and answer a question that was sent to me by Desiree. The question is, what did your friends and family think when you first mentioned you had Alzheimer's? Now, that might have happened to you already. It might not have if you haven't been diagnosed. But it's going to happen. So thank you for the question, Des. And by the way, Desi's my other granddaughter. She followed my post last week, and she's following all the instructions, which is ask questions. So, number 1 question. And it's a great question, Des. Okay, so friends, well, most of my friends said, "You're kidding. You look fine. You don't have Alzheimer's." A lot of my doctors said the same thing until I actually had one doctor call my neurologist and explain to him that I have Alzheimer's. And I've had this doctor, I almost want to say since I was born, but not really. Okay? My immediate family, my two daughters, I have two daughters, two grown daughters, were upset, but it took them a while to talk to me about it, and they are now. My youngest granddaughter, which is 9, she came to the last Alzheimer's walk in northern New Jersey, and participated. Watched my first YouTube last week, and told me this past Thursday it made her sad. So I knew she was understanding something. Then I told her how lucky I was to have her. The other question, no, I'm sorry, let me go back. Not the other question, the same question. My almost 16-year-old granddaughter, Desi, who wrote this question, has yet to start talking to me about it. But I know it takes time, and she will. And the last something that made me smile, and I have to share it with you, really, is my 9-year-old granddaughter who follows the rules. Actually, in school, she wants to be the teacher, okay? So she posted 2 comments, not one. The first comment was, "Love you, Papa," which is grandfather or grandpa. The second comment was the best. I've been trying to practice doing this without tears. "I love you. The reason I'm saying this is because he's my papa." Tells you the whole story. And then she told me she subscribed. So take a lesson from a 9-year-old, please. Subscribe. And that's why I don't plan on going anywhere too soon. So, folks, please stay healthy, stay safe. See you next week. God bless.